Hi, we're Skyline Green Team, and this year for Earth Day, we wanted to tell you a little bit about Earth Day as well as what you can do.
So we're going to start off with where did Earth Day originate? Before 1970, there was no environmental protection regulation, which basically meant no environmental protection agency, no Clean Air Act or Clean Water Act or any of the other environmental protection laws that we have now. And in the 1960s, the worsening environment came to have really negative, drastic impacts on people. So everywhere you went, especially beaches, there was litter. Rivers were literally catching on fire because a lot of oil and waste was being dumped into them. And so sometimes there was a significant case where the oil would catch on fire, and this would completely obliterate the animals that were living in that ecosystem. And also the air was so polluted that it would damage people's lungs. However, at the same time, the 60s was an era of fighting for progressive change. And so many movements were happening at the same time. And so this would inspire the grassroots environmental movement. And so a massive oil spill in Santa Barbara, California, was what drove Senator Gaylord Nelson of Wisconsin to organize a national effort in fighting to clean the environment on April 22nd, 1970, and this would be created into Earth Day. The first Earth Day in 1970 was a collection of protests and teach-ins. And these teach-ins were basically educating people on why we need to protect and conserve our natural resources. And over 20 million American protesters demonstrated on the very first Earth Day in cities across the country. And this turnout was pretty surprisingly large considering how the first Earth Day was entirely volunteer organized. And after the first Earth Day, the influence of it was pretty immediate, I would say. In December 1970, 7 months after the first Earth Day, the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, was created and environmental protection laws were passed in the following years.
That poses the question, how has Earth Day evolved over the last few decades? So in 1990, Earth Day was globalized. So cities across the world now celebrated Earth Day, especially by youth. And fun fact, this year is actually the 51st Earth Day. But in the past, global warming was not like an emergency focus. It was more centered around conservation of nature, rather than an immediate threat of climate change. But since now we know that the climate crisis is worsening year by year, the focus has changed more to emphasize on protection and more of systematic change in the attitudes and treatment of our environment.
So what does Earth Day look like today? Today, many people participate in protests, and the days leading up to Earth Day and after it are where they're mainly centered. And people have changed what actions they do on Earth Day based on where they live. So for example, in Hawaii, the dolphins are a very important animal to them. So most of their activities are themed around dolphins. In Mumbai, India, there are a lot of trash on the beaches, and it's very well known there. So most people go and clean the beaches during Earth Day. And in Africa, the Congo rainforest has recently been declining and just being very destructive. So a lot of people focus on spreading the word about this. And this year specifically, things that you guys can join are the Global Youth Climate Summit on April 20th, which is led by Earth Uprising. So this is a virtual summit where there are going to be panels, speeches, and discussions by youth climate activists, such as, for example, Greta Thunberg. And on April 21st, there is a Teach for the Planet Global Education Summit led by Education International. And this is also an online virtual summit where activists will talk about how teachers can promote learning about the environment and activism and what more they can do. And on April 22nd, the Biden administration is doing a global climate summit, so you can probably watch that on television. And something you can participate in is the Earth Day live digital event on earthday.org. And this is also a place where numerous grassroots activists or world climate leaders will come and talk in panels and discussions over various topics such as reforestation efforts and climate change and a lot more. So it's very interactive and you guys could learn a lot from it.
So what does youth activism actually look like? Well, all over the globe, people gather together to fight for attention to be brought to the environmental crisis. It's focused on political, social, and economic change in order to create a better future for everyone on the planet. As you can see, there are 2 photos down here. This is kind of sometimes what it looks like. But yeah, it's a way to come together and push for change.
This is a pretty inspirational quote to, I guess, encourage youth activism. Activism is the rent I pay for living on this planet. From Alice Walker.
What can you do for Earth Day? And there are many things we're going to cover, and you have to find the one that you like the best, because when you do something that you do with your heart in it, you do it with more passion and you'll be able to help more. Yep.
Yeah. So our first idea for you is making a compost pile. I did this. My family doesn't have like a compost pile with the worms. You can go to that level. That's the next level. Go for it. But you can also just like start composting if you don't already do that. And it's a super easy way to help the environment with things that you already have.
All right, me again. So another thing you can do is plant. This is my peach plant. It's been alive for 3 years. Somehow I kept it alive and it's made me feel a little more happier. Like now I'm gonna uncomfortably stroke it, but if you can see, it's about like a foot tall now from 3 years, and maybe in 2 or 3 years it will start actually blooming. Is that a flower I see there? Huh, maybe I'm seeing things, but I see stuff. But you'll find that if you plant something and it grows from a seed that I ate, it'll grow. Yeah.
Another thing you can do is you can create a rain barrel to collect water. Now you don't have to go like full on and like get a big like wooden barrel like in that picture. You can also just find things you have around your house, maybe, you know, like old trash cans, maybe that's an idea. That might be a bit of a reach, but if you ever stumble across the opportunity to do that, that's something that's very nice you could do to help art.
Something else you can do is research an environmental topic. So you can use the internet and search about anything you want, or you can visit your local library or ask one of your teachers to help you. And then once you have this knowledge, you can teach other people and spread word about it. So you could teach your friends, your family, and it'll just keep spreading. Something else you can do is biking or walking instead of driving, if it's possible. You guys don't need to like walk all the way to like California or something. Like it needs to be attainable. And this will like reduce a lot of the pollution in the environment, which is effectively helpful for climate and the environment. So bike or walk.
Yeah, another idea for maybe more creative people is creating art from recycled materials. Like you can see that fish on the right of the screen is made out of flip-flops. So that is quite a big project. So you don't have to do something that big. But even if you have any leftover paper, I keep this like goldfish box, like giant goldfish box of recycled paper. So you can just do something like that. And then if you ever need paper, if you want to like create something out of different materials, you can do something really creative and cool with that without creating waste.
Something else you can do is you can look up recipes online to create cleaning solution alternatives, because some of them have very toxic chemicals that get washed into the environment. So if you want to help with that, you can always just look up stuff online and try to find ingredients around your house, and you can create a cool alternative to use.
Another thing you can do is pick up litter. That's a pretty self-explanatory thing. Of course, we don't want trash lying around, so it's great to pick up when you can or see something.
Something else you can do is you can join a youth environmental group or go to certain events. Some examples include your school's own green team. I know there's some on even the elementary school levels, but especially in middle and high school. Sometimes you can find local youth protests, especially in bigger cities like Seattle. You can always drive up there and try to find something to join. There's also things like the YMCA and YESC events. You can go on their website or email your local coordinator, and you can find some cool things to go to. You could also possibly find a community garden or a climate justice group. That could require a bit of research, but once you find them, that could be very useful in enacting change in your community.
Okay, something else that you could do is plant a pollinator-friendly garden. And this would mean planting native plants and flowers rather than invasive species in your gardens. Ditch pesticides, chemicals, those toxic fertilizers in your garden, and opt for more like natural fertilizers like eggshells and any vegetation waste that you have. Let your lawn grow and avoid over like trimming it. Incorporate bee-friendly water baths, which could be really pretty, and having blooms all year round.
Something else you can do is making DIY or reusable alternative material products. So instead of wasting resources while buying new things, when you have things at home that you can remake, it'll save materials for the earth and also improve the environment. So reuse and reduce, like the 3 R's: recycle, reduce, reuse, and try to make do-it-yourself products at home.
Yeah, and our final idea for what you can do for Earth Day is just to appreciate the Earth. So often we can be so focused on like things we can do to like help it, and that's great. But it's also important to just like appreciate the Earth that we're building. Go for a walk or just sit down and watch a nice sunset.
As cheesy as it sounds, truly every day is Earth Day by Ashlyn Conteseo. Yeah, every day should be respected.
Yeah, happy Earth Day, everyone. Hope you incorporate one of the action items that we mentioned in our slideshow, and also hope you look into youth activism because I think that makes the most impact.
Yeah, really appreciate the earth and appreciate like what you have and what we have so far, and try to help protect it and conserve it. And also check out our Skyline Green Team Instagram. We have a whole week of Earth Day challenges so that you can participate and really try to start doing youth activism.
Well,
Join your green team. It's never too late to join it.
yeah,
If you're in
exactly.
Beaver Lake, you can grow stuff in the garden. You can take it and cook it at your own home. So, I mean, that's cool. Free food.
Nicely said. Yeah, happy Earth Day, everyone. Thank you all for watching.